Aloha. Today I wanted to do a video in reference to some questions about the flat earth and our reality as a whole, the human experience, down to the actual physicality, the actual process. Just throw some ideas out there, and shout out to Thomas More, who was partially inspiration for this video, because he was asking some questions about the sperm and the egg, or posing some questions about the sperm and the egg and our reality, and triggered some things that I had been wanting to speak on in videos in reference to the sperm and the egg and the waters supposedly above the dome, and just really just throw some questions out there and kind of just link it to what I've already been sharing and the questions that I've already been bringing up in previous videos, and really just kind of leave it out there, because there's already so many holes in the story of illusion that we get fed. Obviously, when you start looking into the flat earth information and the deception of the globe model, you start to see more and more of, and especially if you start to dive more into the ancient hieroglyphics and the ancient writings and all the stuff of the ancient people. And that's another reason I wanted to do this video, is because there's a lot of information available in the teachings and the stories of the ancestors, the ancient civilizations, that today's so-called logical evolved version of humanity labels as primitive and savage. You can't go into Egypt and see the pyramids, the Sphinx, the pyramids all across the world, the hieroglyphics, the precision in their ancient technology, and just say that they were primitive and savage. The only way you can, that's the foundation to the evolution storyline, the evolution theory that leads up to today's version of technology as, the end all be all of the human evolution story. It's like we're the best because time added up to us today, and time is linear, and we didn't have smartphones 50 years ago, so since we have them today, we are the smartest. That's it. Just forget about it. That's the rest of the story. Don't look anymore. Don't ask any questions about what happened before the industrial age, before the Constitution, before Christopher Columbus. Don't ask any questions about the ancient civilizations. And if you want to go there, it's only about Greek philosophy, Greek sciences, and the Sumerian perspectives, and before that it's just aliens. Just that's the mainstream reality. If you look into ancient aliens, if you look into pretty much the mainstream university system stops at Greece. And if you want to go a little bit further into that information, this so-called esoteric information, they only venture out into like Sumer and start talking about, that's where it starts to split and splinter into these various storylines of aliens and giants and all these other storylines that are just completely out of the norm of conversation that you just won't even talk about. And then actually prior to that and simultaneous to that storyline are the ancient Cometians, or ancient Egyptians, the ancient Cometians, who actually birthed that Sumerian foundation. And once you start going into there, you start making connections to the indigenous and aboriginal storylines that are across the earth plane, with obviously with the pyramids, with the ancient artifacts, with the storylines, with the various perspectives that are telling the same story. It's just all the same story. And it's very like simple. Like if we start understanding the masculine and the feminine, the sperm and the egg, and start asking and like really challenging ourselves to understanding this human experience to the depths, we'll start to understand truly what the as above so below perspective really is, and go into the natural expansion or the natural evolution of our physical experience and our consciousness experience, and really find out like what we're doing here, why we're here, what here is, like where here is, and then go on beyond that. But the system itself needs to worship itself. This is why you have all these awards and the Nobel Peace Prize. I was speaking in the last video, the university system, degrees. You get 1 degree, you get 1 bachelor, you get one perspective, 1 degree out of 360 degrees of information that compartmentalizes each and every human reality into 1 perspective. And if you just worship that, it's like worshiping kindergarten. That's basically what it is. It's like, congratulations, you graduated the kindergarten of architecture. You're the kindergarten master. You got a master's degree in the kindergarten of engineering. But you will never start to unravel. You're not even allowed to question the very nature of this reality, because the norm of this reality in the normalization program, in order to keep you separate from nature itself, is to keep everybody in this one fashion of reality. And like the last video, where Bill Nye was talking, where I referenced Bill Nye talking about, we need engineers, we need voters, we need taxpayers who are gonna add to the system. That's exactly what the system means to create by this kindergarten version of reality. So basically, we're all worshiping the overall story is an illusion. It's the kindergarten illusion reality. And if you if you want to leave the class, then you will be penalized. Your attendance record will be affecting your grades, and you won't be a part of that school anymore. So anyway, that school is the so-called new school, which is turning into this new government, new age, new religion, new world. It's the new idea, which can only be new if you have created a box of old. This is what the same thing Christopher Columbus did with the Bible and all that other stuff. All over the world this has happened. This is the colonial program as a whole. Africa was perfectly fine, and then King Leopold and all his other buddies up there in the European nations went down to Africa to go steal all of its natural minerals out of the earth and just enslave an entire continent of people for their own benefit. That's a different level of consciousness. That is not the expansion of the evolution of consciousness. It's actually a de-evolution of consciousness that is the foundation to where we're at today. All your Cambridge, UC Berkeley, Stanford, Princeton, like all these universities are the colonial, the British Empire, the Roman Empire university system. So, yeah, so in order to make it valid, they have to make up an entire system of science or understanding, which is the globe model, which is the worshipping of technology, the worshipping of celebrities in the mainstream pop culture age, your smartphones. This is all obviously, if they keep coming out with these iPhone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's for profit. They've already made their most efficient iPhone. This is the illusion that we're hopeless. People are just hopeless. And then you celebrate hopelessness. I got the new iPhone 7. You got that old iPhone 5. Are you still holding on to that iPhone 5? You take pride in the illusion. Overall, expanded, zoomed all the way out, collectively, we take pride in the physical reality. We take pride. That pride is actually the pride in the illusion is the counterbalance to the solar plexus. Your sun energy, your willpower, your energy at the foundation to your, that's the crown of your physical reality. The solar plexus is the crown of the physical reality. Your willpower, your fire, your meaning, your purpose here. It's like the head of the crown of from your root chakra to your sacral to your solar plexus. Those are the subtle bodies, the physical reality. So the illusion that gets installed into your solar plexus, and Thomas mentioned this in the video, I'm going to link below too, is how like the Matrix, the Mr. Smith, he reaches in to get inside of Neo. He reaches into his chest, which is his solar plexus energy. So that's like taking your crown, he reaches into your fire. So the system itself, the illusion itself, installs itself into the stomach mind, your fire physical reality, fire mind, and inherently shuts down the versions of reality that are of your subtle body. So if you don't have a mind, if you're just like mind control, if you are mind controlled, then your entire experience will be manipulated. So your sacral chakra, your relationships, your artistic, your connections, your intimacy, that is all being manipulated to be focused upon a version of the physical reality that's based upon strictly reproduction, strictly connections of the mouth. It's just like words that are in the mouth. So you can understand people who just talk shit. They're just talking words out of their mouth. But people who have a character, an essence, a fire of their entire beingness, you can feel what they're speaking from their soul. So there's a difference between speaking from your soul or even from your mind. Like intellectuals, there's these layers of word energies that we relate to. The mainstream version of word relationships that we have that actually creates our reality is based upon words of the mouth. It's just, that's what politics is. The entire collective is underneath the boot of words of the mouth. When you can have Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump be a potential leader of millions of people, and some could argue billions of people when you expand it to the world. Yeah, so we have these layers of interaction relationships that are being controlled on every level. So the root chakra is another thing that gets locked down when you understand that we are completely destroying nature largely for the benefit of the illusion of technology and the illusion of the American dream. The rainforests, all the forests are being destroyed to produce these boxes that we live in, and call that, like, that's the best thing since ever. These are just caves that are being created, completely cutting us off from nature, which is our connection to our root. So the alchemy of this system is an as above, so below, backwards, upside down version of our natural relationships. So we have the head, or the crown, and then you have your heart energy, and then you have your lower bodies, your physical reality. So the sperm is one example. So how I was seeing this in relation to the as above, so below perspective is the actual earth plane. When you are birthed into this experience, and when you so-called die, you're actually birthed into the next experience. When you're birthed in here, you are birthed into a light body within the observation point of a solidified light body, which is the actual human body. That human body is a representation of your chakras. Your chakras are a representation of your soul, your light energy soul. Like when you come and work on things, when you get sick, it's largely because your energy centers have been tweaked and manipulated. People who are in fucked up relationships, you can always narrow it down to if somebody's controlling somebody else, and you can narrow it down to how that individual who has been manipulated into a disease has the energy centers that they have been manipulated by the individual who's been messing with them. You can narrow that down. It's all light energy, just as your physical reality first has to manifest as a thought in your mind, and before it's a thought in your mind, it has to be in your soul experience first. So it goes from the soul to the mind to the body. So as we are birthed through our mother here, we are in another version of what we were before we were here, just in a more solidified version. I'm just kind of throwing out all these kind of questions that are connected with information that I've understood, and am still asking questions and understanding myself. So this is how I'm sharing it. So you can see the sperm as the head, and the mitochondria, and then the tail. So the body, how I'm seeing this is like the higher chakras, and then the heart chakra, and then the physical reality. It's one version, just throwing this stuff out there. And when you are birthed into the duality program, the physical reality, the left and right hemisphere, the sun and the moon, the electric and magnetic field, the earth plane reality, you are now a walking version of what the earth is. But at the same time, you are inside the earth. So how I'm seeing it is that just like this egg is floating in a fluid of, I'll get to it in a second, but like how I'm seeing it as the ancient Egyptians referred to the primordial waters, or the waters of Nun, and how our entire experience is built up of particular elements. So you have the energies of the gods like Thoth and Horus, I'll get into that in a second. But so staying on the as above, so below, never being outside of that reality. So you as an individual can be seen as just as there are 7 billion individual bodies on this earth plane, you can see that as individual sperms who were birthed into the egg of the physical reality. And the physical reality has, oh man, there's so many like angles that I want to take on this. So the physical reality, the further you go into challenging your own separation while still maintaining your connection to spirit, is based upon how many times you have experienced a reality, chosen to experience a reality that is just a smidge separate each time. And you won't be able to escape that reality or graduate from that reality until you have come back through whatever you want to call it, thought, through reconnecting with spirit, reconnecting with your soul, whatever it is. Each time you go into the darkness or the separation or the experience that, like when you're birthed into this experience, you are completely like alone in the ideas that your memory gets, pretty much your memories of your energy, your experience gets washed away, and then you have to be you're like you're adapting to your surroundings, and the surroundings are, in order for that reality to maintain its strength over you, like the Mr. Smith program, it has to convince you of that reality. And in order for kings and queens to exist, to have power over other energies, which are to maintain the energetic hierarchy of your reality, the illusion has to be created around you. So this is where the globe model comes in. This is where the manipulating of the lower bodies comes in. This is where the separation within separation. You are already in the physical reality, which is a heavily, it's a difficult, from this perspective now, because it's not that difficult when, for example, the ancient Egyptians were sharing these stories of our relationship to all that is, our relationship to spirit. But in order to make a dream within a dream, you have to keep expanding the illusion. So how I'm seeing this is as a sperm, to pose off the question that Thomas brought up in his video, each individual being a sperm, breaking through the egg, only one sperm will be able to fertilize that egg. So you, the energy that you are, the energy, I'm not yet comfortable with saying that we are the actual sperm, because the energy, I see it more as the energy between the sperm and the egg that creates a field for the mitochondrial coding that's within the sperm and the mitochondrial coding that's within the egg. And when those two meet, they create a portal, like an entrance for the soul that you actually are. That's not necessarily the sperm or not necessarily the egg, but a combination of the two. It creates like an opening. It creates a gap for the actual soul essence, the light body that you are, to manifest within that code. So the code of a Brad Pitt sperm and a Angelina Jolie egg creates a Brangelina gateway, and the soul essence that is wanting and able to experience that reality is actually has a manifestation or a connection to both that sperm and that egg energetically, and if chosen will be able to manifest into this physical reality through that portal. So I don't really see it as one or the other, more so of a light body energy. These are just how I question my reality. And right now, so these portals get created and we get birthed, since that energy, that soul, that Brangelina soul gets birthed into this reality, it has to find its way back. It has to find its way back to the source, which is itself. It has to find itself again, which is the representation of the soul, which is a representation of the spirit, all as one harmonic, now anchored in this physical reality. Through all of the illusions that are designed to keep you from finding that out. I'll get into the flat earth stuff in a second, because there was like a kind of a storyline that I was going through with these images. So you can see the egg, the timing of the egg, and the relationship of the sperm, the creation of the sperm. Through this time, the stars have a relationship. The stars of... So this egg and this sperm is being formed in this reality. And the electric and magnetic frequencies that the mother who is creating this gateway for this being to come through is being manipulated by the sun, the moon, the stars, stress levels. This is why the food industry, the waters, everything is designed to maintain a lower frequency. So if you have lower energy sperms creating lower energy or lower vibration eggs, then that will create a lower vibration gateway for a low vibration soul to come into that reality. And it's not how I see it, it's not like clear cut, but it's just one example, like the generalization of overall what happens to the collective. For example, when a mother is pregnant and is heavily bombarded with stressful frequencies, it does affect the child, and the child will have to get out of that. So if you maximize that to an extreme, you can see that down to the sperm level, even the sperm counts, the sperm health is being affected by our food, by our water, by the drugs that are out there, by the stress levels that are out there. Everything on a physiological level is affected by our environment, which is the the physical reality itself. So if playing the numbers, the illusionists playing the numbers beat down the entire grid in order to maintain a lower vibration of the collective, to maintain themselves as the haves amongst the have-nots. The education system, the university system, and the way the entire program is designed, the globe model, the worshiping of the physical reality, the egoic, the artificial ego, American dream type of pride in this generic form of existence without even a connection to spirit, in a generic form of connection to spirit. When you go into like the religions and that program, how that's designed, this is all a manipulating. If you manipulate the relationship between the positive and the negative, the masculine and the feminine, then you are actually manipulating. They are manipulating the so-called. They are manipulating the below, which is manipulating the the manifestation of the above within the below. So you have, through the environment, through the thought patterns, through the intellect, through the relationships, through the bombardment of the frequencies, through the television, your music, your movies, everything is being manipulated to affect the very natures of this reality that is being created by the consciousness that is birthed into the energies of the soul essence that is birthed into this reality. So when people say, oh, well, you create your reality, in individual scale, like somebody who's always depressed, a lot of the times they'll be sick. A lot of the times they'll run into fucked up situations. And then because that vibration is being simultaneously sent out into their reality. So if that happens to an individual, how the fuck do you think that's going to manifest in a collective reality? Down to the very natures of the physiology of the body, and the body being the gateway, the foundation in this reality, or the vessel for the soul, then that vessel being like, instead of creating like spaceships or light body ships that can fly around and be like superhuman, we're collectively manipulated into driving around, like a Chevy Nova or something like that. Like just driving around in a Nova, and then like taking pride in that Nova, when you're actually like a divine vessel in itself. And the deeper you go into the matrix, or the deeper you go into the separation, the more of a challenge that you have chosen to experience so that you can find your way back. So people who are having difficulty with so-called finding themselves, or whatever their vibration is, don't take that as, or if people who are new to the understanding that they are a spirit, they are a soul, they are not the physical reality anymore, don't take it as something that is like wrong with you, or something that you're in the beginning. It's like beating up a kindergarten, a first grader or something. You're yourself beating yourself up. It's like, why would you hold yourself to the standards of an ongoing experience? It'll be counterproductive. So you have to simultaneously find find your find your power centers as you are finding or seeking yourself on your journey. So it's like a dance. It's as difficult as it is. You have also chosen with your relationship to spirit what it is that you will be doing. And if it's a really difficult ass experience, then you have simultaneously, you already maintain the energetic potential to be able to experience that reality. But it's up to you to find it, to get back on that path and find it, and not to simultaneously beat yourself down, and also be able to not be subject to being beat down by the experience itself. So we have our surroundings. This is like an individual in a relationship that gets abused. It's the same thing that you have with yourself, abusing yourself because you're not good enough or whatever it is, when the opposite is actually the reality. And the design of this entire matrix is to maintain that beat down kindergartner reality, and the cool crowd within that class who subscribe to the illusion, who worship and take pride in the illusion, are in, at best, the neutral zone. They're in the I'm just gonna stay here, stagnant, and then go through the illusion as the illusion instead of who and what they are, conforming to the reality, and instead of making their way back to the self, which is making their way back to the spirit and understanding the reality as a whole. That's the alchemy of the actual design itself. So even questioning the globe model and looking into the flat earth, and looking in and even questioning the design of the flat earth, and even further keep going with it to understand more and more of what this reality is about, is a thought manifestation of your your actual light body physiology. Like the body, the sperm and the egg, as a representation of two lights, creating a dual light to experience a light body experience within a solidified light body, which is the physical vessel. The ancient civilizations understood this. Like I showed an image, I don't have it on this slide right now, of the Aztecs also having a representation of the Ankh, and what this actually means. And then, yeah. So, breaking into this reality as the sperm, breaking in through this reality, you've chosen, you've fought to have this experience. You've created your experience through the particular timing, as everything being on time, as a particular time. Like when you are born with the stars at a certain angle, at a certain energy that affects who and what you are. This also is a manifestation through the production of the egg, the sperm being the sperm fertilizing the egg. So, like I said, the stress levels, the actual level, every single level of the thought patterns, down to the thought patterns of the female, the woman who is producing this gateway for this baby. It matters. It affects just as much as the stars, the sun, and the moon affect your body. This is why the moon cycles of the woman is heavily affecting their experience. What do you think that's doing to the baby? And this is why it's so crucial for a mother to be stress-free when she is creating this energy for, or this home for this new soul. And you can see that that's completely opposite when in this entire world. So back to the so the sperm, I don't know where that other image is. So yeah, here's this the Ankh and the tree of life. You can see Earth down at the bottom, the moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, the sun. All this being the codes of the home that is being created. And this illusion has just manifested itself into the deeper separation, like the deeper now that people are realizing their relationship to spirit is not going to be as difficult. Like just as much as you are not affected by negative energies of other people, now that you've raised your awareness or raised your vibration, people can't fuck with you anymore. Like where people who are heavily sensitive to like who are heavily anchored in like the artificial ego will be easily manipulated by other people who know how to mess with those energies. When you get out of that space, then you can't be messed with as much anymore. So that's a relationship, a closer energy to yourself that gets put out there. It's a relationship that gets fed, that people feel. And they either want to feed off that by soaking you from, like, getting involved with you by those leeching, vampiric, parasitic energies, or they run away from you because they're just like, I can't even fuck with that, because they will expend their energy. So they'll just shut down and they'll stay away. That's because you have activated more of a connection of who and what you are that will not be manipulated. This is that limbo space that I referred to in a lot of previous videos, which is also including the neutral zone. Like I said in another previous video, there is no neutrality. There is no neutral zone in your relationship to spirit. Either you are connected in consciously or not. It's your choice. Like through, because you can never sever that connection. You are the manifestation of that connection. You're just having an experience now, like convincing yourself of this separation. But you can create the illusion of separation and live in that world, and and you will start to experience that illusion because you've created that for yourself. But when you reconnect with yourself, with that energy, you start to activate you start to open up other books. And these other books are the understandings that the ancient ancestors have already went into understanding in so many ways. This is why the Tree of Life is a mirror image of the Ankh. And all these different civilizations across the earth plane have similar storylines, just in different languages. So yeah, the sun, the moon, the planets, these are light body energies. So like when people say the energies of the stars are actually like angels, angelic energies. These are frequencies. Your angels are helping you. This is why you look to the stars, you like pray, and then this whole thing is to you're reconnecting with yourself and your energy centers that are the pure representation of who and what you are, which is why the stars will never leave you. That your angels will never leave you. Because you are a manifestation of that energy. In the waters of pure existence, experience. So Malkuth in the tree of life is the furthest on the bottom. This one, Earth. And you can see over here the physical reality on the very bottom. Down up to the astral, the mental, the egoic, intuitive, causal, and the spiritual. All of these energy centers get manipulated to work against you subliminally, subconsciously, and so on and so forth. But the main thing overall is, like when I was saying, the manipulating of your relationship to spirit as a whole is to worship the physical reality, to worship the root chakra, the base, physical base reality, and then start awarding, like making awards for that reality. So like this is what I was saying about the awards in the last videos. Like, just because you started to look into the flat earth, and then you only start to see it for just the physical reality and don't make the connection to the human experience, why are you celebrating? Like it's okay, yeah, it's wonderful. You're activating one, but it's like celebrating graduating kindergarten. So there's nothing really, when you see it like that, it's like, yeah, good thing you didn't fail kindergarten, but there's so much more that we need to do. And I'm not saying like don't, be happy or don't don't party and all this other shit. What I'm saying is that if you get trapped in that program, it's counterproductive. It works against you because you're not challenging yourself to think beyond that reality. You're taking pride in something. As a result, especially when you start to use that world against the other people who are still in kindergarten, in a sense, that haven't made their way out of that reality. So the people who still believe in the globe model or the illusion itself, when you say, oh, those globe people, they talk about the curve and the ships disappear. Oh, it's so silly. It's so fucking ridiculous. It's like beating up a first grader or a kindergarten or something like that. Not saying as like taking pride or in that like better than somebody else, but just as questioning your reality. Just because you've gone from kindergarten to first grade, why the fuck would you want to like mess with kindergartners, like energetically? Like the illusion itself, the more we challenge ourselves and help each other understand the entire reality. So just as much as the entire reality, like I explained earlier in this video, is being manipulated to keep us from reconnecting with ourselves, our spirit, every single angle, the same goes for the individual. You can start to activate your own matrix, which will create another separation. That is the pride, the artificial ego in shit like graduating from kindergarten. It's instead of understanding the entire system that has been manipulated to keep you from discovering and exploring not only the reality of the physical reality, but the reality of yourself. So like understanding the flat earth realm, the physical realm, and taking pride in that is when you have the astral, mental, egoic, intuitive, causal, and spiritual planes of existence to understand, it doesn't make any sense. And in fact, it's another box that you've placed yourself in. That's my point. This is why I get so irritated with the so-called flat earth top brass, and I don't really get irritated anymore. It's just the sense that even to this day, it's still only focused on the physical reality. It's like, oh, well, let's only talk about this. Let's only look at this. When you have these other planes of existence that exist, that have been understood by the ancient Egyptians, the Inca, the Aztec, the Olmecs, all across. That's the actual, like, kindergarten is not really school. You're just learning like the nuts and bolts of reality. And then once you get into like first grade, second grade, third grade, that's actually the other higher planes of existence, for example purposes, outside the physical reality, which will actually help you understand the physical reality even more so. Yeah. The more you start to understand the astral, the mental, the egoic, the intuitive, the causal, and the spiritual, that will help you understand, just like as above, so below, it'll help you understand what this reality really is. And not just subject yourself to the illusion, or take pride, like stop right there and then be like, you globe heads are not gonna take over the world and all this others. It's that can be relative to like the globalist mentality and because the illusion itself, the matrix itself will continue to expand the illusion based upon the consciousness of the collective. That's the only way that this artificial kingdom and queendom can maintain that illusion and that haves and have-nots program over the people. So we get caught up in like, what do we do and all this other stuff. It's like, we have to understand who we are, what we is, before we start to seeing what we're going to do. Because if you just start to do without understanding what you are, then you will only do based upon the level of consciousness that you currently are at. And if you are still within a box, you will be doing within a box, which will be expanding the system itself instead of doing your maximum potential, which is a consistent expansion. So yeah, I kind of took this video off on a different perspective than I aligned the images, but this is obviously the brain as like the nervous system, just like a growth, an expanded version of the sperm that I was talking about earlier, growing. So the sperm, I think, how is going into relating the storyline, the as above, so below storyline of, constantly being a vessel and growing and expanding. So the sperm goes into the egg of. So even before the sperm, this is also what I wanted to connect to it, because it was something I was thinking about, is before two people get together, they have to have some kind of chemistry, and these are thoughts that are a part of this chemistry, not necessarily creating this chemistry, but they are a part of this chemistry. And these thoughts are actually energy fields, and each thought is a growth pattern, and together you grow, and then eventually the two of them are going to get down and then create a gateway for another thought pattern, which is a body, to birth itself into this experience. So that thought that is the sperm having a relationship with the egg, and then the soul manifesting into this reality, into this experience with in the body, then grows. That sperm continues to grow, or that thought, that original thought, continues to grow with the relationship as part of the experience now into the next thought that is that next generation, and then so on and so forth. But at the same time, you have the each individual is still growing. That those thought patterns, that original thought, now has billions and an infinite potentiality of thoughts now to make a higher connection with a higher relationship. So you can, just like you can have a relationship with another person, you can also have a relationship with spirit. And that is how you birth yourself into the next reality. So one form of a relationship and birthing of an experience is to create another relationship between your positive and your negative within a relationship to create a baby. Your baby is yourself when you create a relationship with spirit, and then another form of that same kind of relationship, and then that's how you get energetically birthed into the next experience. And this is how I'm seeing kind of like how the flat earth is, along with the waters part of it, not completely, but the waters above the dome and the stars being in like water and this whole thing, and this being as above so below, kind of like the egg sort of thing, this dome flat realm, and just a light body experience just being another like this sperm walking around as a thought form in another egg, another version of reality. And then as the sperm broke into the egg, now the walking sperm, or the physical reality, will walk through this egg, or walk through this experience into another egg. You don't have to actually physically do it like the sperm does with the egg, because I don't know, maybe I don't exactly know what it is yet, but this is just how I've been questioning my reality, just throwing this stuff out there. But the thought patterns itself, as energy, as vibrations, are one form of getting closer to spirit and your soul, and walking through your reality as a frequency. So the ancient civilizations who created like all of these symbols and carvings and things in reference to the feminine energy birthing into this reality, the gateway is what the religious program means to keep you away from, what the technological program wants to keep you away from. It wants to focus you, like the transhumanism program wants to focus your energy on technology. The dream within the dream, it is totally based upon only inside this dream, which is why they're bringing up the simulation theory, to have an illusion of, to create another box within a box of what's outside of this dream. The illusion dream. It's an illusion within illusion. So they're going to tell you that they can put your consciousness in a hard drive and then install you into another body, and then you can take that into the cloning programs and all that stuff too. But for the information that's readily available now, that energy understanding relative to the ancient civilizations and what they were talking about is can be understood as like the separation. Like, our ancestors were not primitive and savages. They understood the relationships that we are in this physical reality way more than what's understood today, and it's not even understood today. So there are all kind of different images. This is just one version that I saw to give a representation of being birthed into this reality. And Nut being the yeah. So it's waters, like even air is water, like H2O. It's water and oxygen. It's built up oxygen. The air is the water. You are water. The water is the water in the oceans and the lakes. That's not the only water. There's various layers of waters that exist, and it's part of our experience. So when you're being birthed, when you're inside the womb, you're in waters. So when you're birthed into this reality, another version of that separation is into the air water experience. And each time you have to find your way back, whatever that is. So this is this image, the individual, the goddess Nut, with the stars on her body, who looks like a dome over like the flat earth plane, is actually another depiction of her, is with a water pot on her head. And this can go into the people who do like the flat earth stuff, as far as the stars being like light bodies in the ocean of water, the waters above. And in another example is Nun, the great waters of the unmanifest. So I hope the video is still running now. But Nun, also nun, like the nuns in the church, but the original Nun, according to the theology of Ogdod, the universe was formed from the interaction of 8 elements, which is what I was speaking on earlier, instigated by one of a number of possible gods, including Thoth, Amun, Horus, and Ra. Water, nothingness or invisibility, darkness, and infinity. Water was represented by Nun and Nanet, the female form. Although the Egyptians had many different creation myths, they all agreed that the universe came from the primordial waters of Nun. And many legends suggested that everything would slip back under these waters at the end of the world. There were no priests or temples devoted specifically to Nun, but he was represented by the sacred lake of each temple and was frequently referred to in religious inscriptions. Nun existed in every particle of water and formed the source of the river Nile and the yearly inundation. The god was also associated with the laying of foundations for all temples, possibly because the Egyptians used simple and effective techniques which took advantage of the fact that water will always form a horizontal level in order to ensure that the foundation layers of structures were flat. So I just wanted to share that. Kind of tie in the flat earth stuff with the Egyptian perspectives and the waters above the dome. And I just wanted to share these thoughts and these questions, perspectives on our experience. So yeah, I don't really have a synopsis. It was just really just to get that off my chest. And shout out again to Thomas More. Check out his video. I linked it in the description box. See what he was talking about. And until next time, from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.